first ran into Brian, who is now Marilyn Manson, I actually used to think that he was the guitar player from another local band, and I would be going into clubs which were crowded and smoky, and I would, go to approach who I thought was a friend of mine, and it would always be Brian. And probably about the fifth time that happened, we just kind of introduced ourselves and hit it off, and really became best friends for a while. And we would go to clubs and kind of experimented with all the different music that was going on at the time, and really developing what we liked. When I first met Brian, he had blonde hair, straight, probably a bob to hair, or flowered, pants and turtlenecks. And I was known as Brian Black, he was Brian Blonde, and we were always together, and that's how they referred. I used to have long black hair and wore like the leather jackets, and a little more rougher looking than he was, which is kind of funny nowadays. He was actually, when I met him, very big into the metal scene, and I think hanging out with me, and he was just starting to get into the alternative clubs, and really together we developed, we saw the bands that really influenced both of our careers. Fort Lauderdale back in the day, it used to be the 80s, where they made all the 80s movies. So it was the beach, you go to the beach and you wear fluorescent bathing suits and stuff like that. So it was that party crowd and spring break mixed with all the people who came down to die, because that's what Fort Lauderdale was known for at the time. It was the retirement place. And so it was a kind of a contradiction that was going on. And after a while, I guess they decided to get rid of the spring break aspect of it. So what was left, I guess, became a music scene. People went into the clubs and started playing the music. The music scene back in the late 80s and early 90s, it was very diverse. Metal was big, alternative was big, punk was around. It wasn't what it is today, but so there was a lot of the diversity in the scene, and all the bands kind of played together, which made for a good eclectic scene. Brian, before Marilyn Manson, was super. He was a really nice guy, very creative. I know he used to draw a lot, and he used to be still into music. I remember he had a big Kiss collection. His parents were totally off the wall. His dad used to, we'd be in his bedroom with girls, and he would walk in his underwear and had no shame. He'd hit on the girls, and his mom was she was a nut. Super nice people. And I guess that allowed Brian to be more creative and be himself, because he got away with whatever he really wanted to do. And we used to just go to clubs, and like I said, we were always known as Brian Blonde and Brian Black, and we were always together. And I don't think anybody who knew Brian back then, and then they saw him today, would recognize it. It was totally different. I don't really know how we ended up in college together. We just, I guess we both decided to go, and we really took the same courses. We took drama, which was kind of weird for both of us, because that was the first time we were taking that. But I think it worked for both of us being on stage. And he wasn't actually involved in music at the time, but it was still just I guess a way to get through college and be creative. And we took creative writing, which helped both of our writing as far as him being a journalist and me being a musician. And so we would dress like we dressed back then and go to college, kind of maybe the oddballs of the college. But really, we took a lot of creative courses together, and I think that helped us in the future. He actually quit one day and just said, "I'm going to be doing music," after the band got started. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of confident, but he was right. So I stayed a little bit longer, and then ended up dropping out after a while, just doing my own bands and stuff. So.